Hello, my friend, and welcome to the 457th episode of the Sales Podcast. I'm Wes Schaefer, the Sales Whisperer, your host. Today we have the author of Succeed Without Selling. The more you think about selling, the less you will sell. Diane Helbig. I like this book. I like this concept. I like our conversation. She and I are kind of kindred spirits. Her approach is very much in alignment with how I've done things my whole sales career. So I think you're going to like what we talk about. We get into prospecting. We get into a little Dale Carnegie. We talk about the new ABCs of selling, how to find the decision maker, how to find money, how to see where they are insofar as going through the motions, going through the process of picking you or a company like you. So I think you'll like it. I'm sipping a little Waltham's Kentucky bourbon. I don't know if you can even get it unless you go to Kentucky. A friend of mine traveled there, I don't know, a few months ago, before COVID. And she brought me a couple of bottles. That's one of them. So it's good stuff. I highly recommend it. I am recording a few episodes here, at least the intros and outros. I'm heading back to Texas. I'm going to go find the COVID infector and beat them up. I actually was going to go see some friends and family, do a little business. So I'll be gone the entire week of the first week of August. But looking forward to it. I spoke to, here's something that's kind of interesting. A friend of mine flies for Southwest. I got a lot of friends from the Air Force Academy that are pilots with airlines, FedEx, UPS, etc. But a lot of them are at Southwest. And he told me that they haven't furloughed anybody, haven't laid anybody off yet, but they lost, I don't know how many billions in this last quarter. They're losing $20 million a day. They're basically leaving the middle aisle, the middle seats empty. So, they're basically flying at 66% of capacity. And that's assuming, right, they sell every seat, and they may not. So it gives you an idea. I mean, I keep talking about this, and I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I don't see it as bad news. It's just news. Okay, how you deal with it is good or bad. I think we got some problems coming. As I record this, the House and the Senate, they're debating. Republicans want $1 trillion, Democrats want, $3 trillion. Just crazy numbers. 600 a week, no, 200 a week, no, 70% of your pay. Regardless, people are going to be making less money. Okay, this uninsured, unemployed insurance is going to go down or go away. I was in Riverside, downtown Riverside, 2 days ago. So, Monday, July 27th. Met some friends. They were driving through town. Met them for lunch, and actually, our friends from Austin that we got COVID with, and they're driving through, and we were at the old spaghetti factory in downtown Riverside. They had, I think, 6 tables out front, really on the sidewalk, literally. They put some temporary tarps over some things and for some shade. And there were 6 people at a table, 6 tables, maybe 7, but I think there were 6. But, do the math. That's 36 to 42 people that they could seat. And we got there at lunchtime, 12:30, 12:40 we got there. We were there for an hour and a half. Then we went for a walk through downtown, walked around the Mission Inn. And I bet we didn't see 50 people in town. So look, this stuff's not sustainable. Okay, and again, I'm not telling you this to be a Debbie Downer. I tell you this to prepare. Okay, I was a meteorologist in the Air Force. If I told you a hurricane's coming, am I a Debbie Downer? It's like, hey, you need to know this news. You can hunker in, ride it out, or bug out. Either way, you got to prepare. You got to know what's coming. And I don't know. I feel like some tough things are coming. Gold is spiking, silver is spiking. I hope you're diversified. But ultimately, I just want you to be calm, right, in the chaos. I want you to be able to perform at your highest level. And the only way to do that when the fit hits the shan is to remain calm, right? The being able to look around, assess the situation, make a decision, and act decisively. Okay? I've always said great salespeople are some of the best people out there. Great salespeople have great empathy, attention to detail. They listen. They pick up on the nuances, the subtleties. They read between the lines. They take in the whole big communication picture, right? Body language, tonality, inflection, the eye contact, the give and take with the power players, the decision makers. Take it all in. So as a salesperson, an entrepreneur, you have what it takes to not only survive in these crazy times, but even thrive. I was making some big plays in 2008. I saw the writing on the wall back then, and made some big moves for my company. That's when I invested in Infusionsoft. Got that started my business in the fall, right before the big crash. I was positioned great to take advantage of that. I'm positioned well for what's going on right now. All right, I want to help you prepare as much as you can. All right, unsubscribe from people, tune out. Go to your Facebook, and you don't have to unfriend people, even unfollow them. Just go mute these people for 30 days. Okay, cut back on this stuff. Unfollow the distractions on Instagram. You don't need distractions. You need to be focused right now. Okay. Unsubscribe from some email newsletters. Stop following people. Stop spending as much time. There's mostly junk and crap on LinkedIn even. Okay. I'm making some plays right now. I'll report back. It'll take a few weeks or a month at least on some other platforms. I'll let you know how that works. But I'm leaning into this thing, looking at some other investments. But if money is tight for you right now, that's fine. I was laid off so many times I lose count. Twice on my birthday. I was on unemployment when 2 of my kids were born. Okay, so this hasn't been some meteoric rise from me. All right, I've been down. I get it. Audited by the IRS, audited by the California Board of Equalization, left holding the bag on both those deals, hung out to dry by friends. I know what it's like to lose money. I know what it's like to have people let you down. Okay, you keep going. All right, it's going to make you tougher. It's going to make you stronger. You'll get through this. All right, I've talked about the 30-day sales growth. I'm working on another new platform. All right, and life happens, so I'm behind on that. But actually, I should have it done before I leave for Texas. I'll start talking about that. Some new options, more affordable training if you don't want to invest in the full 30-day sales growth program. I'm going to have some on-demand content for you to do at your own leisure, your own pace. But still, you get all that in the 30-day sales growth. So for now, go to 30daysalesgrowth.com. You'll get all of that and more. Okay, and it's a month-to-month option or half off if you join for a year. All right, 30daysalesgrowth.com. Thanks for listening. Now, let's bring on our guest. Diane Helbig, author of Succeed Without Selling. The more you think about selling, the less you will sell, all the way from Ohio. Welcome to the Sales Podcast. How the heck are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So this isn't your first rodeo. You wrote Lemonade Stand Selling back in the day and Expert Insights. So now what? It's time to talk about selling. What is it? Just finally time? Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying. And yeah, we need to change how we're doing this whole thing. We have to stop with all of the old belief systems. So yeah, that's why I wrote it. Amen.
It's interesting. Great minds think alike. I'm reading about the new ABCs of selling.
Yeah.
And I've been writing about that for a while. So are you saying it's no longer always be closing?
That is exactly what I'm saying. And actually, I'm not quite sure it ever was always be closing, but we were taught to believe that. And in my estimation, the problem with that is that then we're always in sales mode. Our brain is always, everyone's a prospect. We have to be selling all the time. And no one likes being around those people.
Yeah.
So, my belief is that the ABCs of selling are actually always be curious.
Yeah. So what does that mean though? Because I've got to tell you about how great I am and how great my company is and how we were started in a garage and how we were bootstrapped and how my founder sold from the back of his car and ate peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. So I've got to tell you that so you know how good my stuff is.
Yeah. Well, here's the problem. No one cares, right? So I know it's heartbreaking. I know, but it's true. No one cares about you until they know that you care about them. So this is the mistake we make. We go on and on and on. We're talking. They're not even listening. My belief is the more we talk, the less people listen. So just be quiet. Number one. Number two, you don't even know if you want to do business with that person. So unless you're curious about them and you're learning about them, you're going to end up in some really bad business relationships.
What do you mean be quiet? People have told me I've never met a stranger. I'm so gregarious. I'm good with people. I can't be quiet. I'm in sales.
Well, Dale Carnegie was known as a great communicator because he would ask a question and then he would be quiet and let the other person talk. And what people want to do most is talk, right, about themselves. So let them, and they will think you are a great connection, and they will want to continue to be around you.
So that's fine and all, but I've got to hit my number this month.
Mm-hmm.
I got to go sell something, don't I?
Yeah. We have to hit, you got to bring in revenue. It's absolutely true. My belief is that when you engage in these activities, and they are activities, sales is a verb, we have to go out there and we actually have to do it. When we do it with an eye toward learning, that's when we actually make our sales. That's when we make our numbers, because we are connecting with the people we should be connecting with. We're not spending time with people who are never going to buy what we have to sell. And we are going to have the kinds of client-vendor relationships that are long-term, and we can do more business with them as time goes on. So we're actually going to get more revenue, good revenue, doing it this way. So do we have to prospect? Yes. Do we have to? But prospecting is about getting a meeting. It's not about convincing someone to buy what you have to sell. So yeah, engage in all the activity. I'm just saying, do it. Ask your questions first before you start talking about your wonderful product or service.
So does this apply to cold outreach? I mean, does that still work? Is that a totally different topic?
So I think cold outreach can definitely work. I think it depends on how people do it. I think if people are reaching out to sell something, it does not work. It puts people off. They aren't going to return your calls. They don't want to talk to you because you are telegraphing that it is all about you and not them. If you do cold outreach where you are reaching out to start a conversation, to get to know them, to see what's going on with them, and if there are ways that you can help them either with what you sell or with the connections that you have and the resources that you have that you can direct them to, people are going to be more like, if they don't believe you're trying to sell them, they will be more likely to have a conversation with you. And those conversations can lead to either clients or referrals or partners, great resources. See, I think we miss out on all of those things when everything we're doing is toward gaining a piece of business, as opposed to building relationships with people and seeing where they fit in our orbit.
So how do you do that and not come across as cheesy? Because I get people, you leave your wallet at home. It's really just an exploratory meeting to see how we might be able to work together. I'm like, no, I don't want to have that meeting. So I mean, where's the fine line, right, between selling and just getting to know one another? Yeah.
I think it's in your preparation, and I think it's in your delivery. So you have to really be genuine. My belief is if we this is going to sound really strange, but if you say to yourself, okay, I'm not looking for a sale. I just want to see what's out there. I just want to see who's out there. I want to see what's going on. I just want to get answers to my questions. And your questions are specific, and they include the certain kinds of questions that give you an idea of who that organization is and who the people in the organization are and how they do business and how they decision make and all of those things. Then it really is honestly exploratory. I mean, it really is. We are just trying to get to know each other. And I mean, I will tell you from personal experience, I sold copiers, which is close to used car salesman, right? But what I would do is say to people, I don't know whether I can help you or not, but is it worth a conversation to see? I'm not going to try and sell you anything. Let's have a conversation. Tell me about what's going on. I'll ask you some questions. If I can help you, I will tell you. And if I can't, I will tell you that as well. We know we're going into a sales conversation, but what I've just told them is, you can trust me. And I meant it. See, you have to say it like you mean it. And I did, and I meant it. And so they heard that. It takes the temperature down. They're more willing to have the conversation. I still have to ask all my questions because I'm interviewing them like they're interviewing me. And I get to decide, is this person going to be difficult to work with? Are they not ready? Do they not have the budget? Whatever it is their timeline too short? Whatever it is. Right. So that then we can have that conversation, and then I'm going to tell them honestly, okay, based on what you told me, here's what I think.
Right.
Right? I may never do business with them, but they'll refer me because I was trustworthy.
Yeah. I mean, all things being equal, I mean, in business, is it better to just cut to the chase and be direct? Or, sometimes there are the relation type buyers, but I mean, my experience typically like a decision maker is kind of a hard charging, task oriented, goal oriented, just get it done. I mean, should we just err on the side of caution and be more direct?
I think you have to know who you're talking to, because you're not always talking to the decision maker, right? I mean, you want to be talking to the decision maker, but sometimes you're not. So I think it's important to identify who you're having the conversation with. And so that's one of the questions, and the question isn't, are you the decision maker? Because no one will answer that question. The question is, would you mind sharing with me your decision-making process? Because then they will tell you, and that gives you insight into who they are. Interestingly, I think part of our job is to listen to how they answer questions, because if they're very direct, if they're very specific, if they give you the answers, what they're telling you is how they operate and how they want you to deal with them. And you have to know that, because you don't want to do the whole, long-term sort of maybe too gentle approach. If it's someone who, okay, give me the facts, tell me what it is, I'll give you, ask me your questions, I'll give you the answers. What's the bottom line? You have to be able to hear that, which is part of the reason why I think we have to get selling out of our head, so we can actually hear what the person is telling us and asking us for, so we can answer them appropriately, not with our preconceived ideas of what we want to sell them.
So it's almost like selling without selling.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Pretty sure the book title is Succeed Without Selling. Yes, that's exactly right. Only because I think selling is misunderstood. It's not that you're not going to close deals. Of course you are. It's that if we stop thinking about it in terms of, I have to go through this behavior that no one likes, doesn't work, we let go of all of that, and we are more engaged and we are more engaging with the person we're talking to.
Right. Does there ever come a time when you do have to put more of a salesperson's hat on and nudge it forward, that carry it across the goal line, or does it flow naturally to a sale?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So that for me is about process. And I think if we have a system that goes along with asking the right questions and enough questions so that we are going to where the most logical conclusion is. If the most logical conclusion is that we can help them, we tell them that and we refer back to what they told us. And we ask about the next step. What so many salespeople and small business owners don't do is have a next step that is specific, that is on the calendar when they leave a conversation. So yes, and that for me is, is more of a sales process sort of thing, right? It's a more structured sort of thing. We absolutely have to have it. We have to be willing to say, not necessarily trial closes, because my belief is if you're doing this the right way, you're dealing with objections before they come up, right? Whatever those typical objections are, because you're asking the questions and you're getting the answers. Unless they lie to you, you're going to match what you have to what they told you. It's going to make sense. That's why you have to ask enough questions to really know where they are and what they really need.
How do you ask those questions, though, and not make them feel like, it's 20 questions or they're under suspicion from the FBI?
Yeah. The big lights hanging over their head.
Yep.
Yeah. I think you start with, would you mind if I asked you a couple of questions? And then ask them, I think the questions have to flow. And are we going to have a list of questions? Yes. But we have to be listening to the answers. Because if you think about it, what do you need to know? Well, I can tell you what I would want to know. Have they worked with a company like mine before? What was their experience? What was good? What would they change? That should naturally flow because it makes sense to ask the next question depending on how much information they give you. So when you're asking these questions, it shouldn't feel like now my next question is, okay, great. Okay, right? We have to be in the conversation and asking the questions in a way that is really more conversational than a tick list.
Would you have them written out?
I would. Only because, first of all, like I said, you're not going to have every question written out, but it guarantees that you don't miss really important questions. So I would have the absolute must-haves written out. The things you got to know about budget. You got to know what their decision-making process is. You got to know what success looks like. If they've had a previous experience, what was it? What matters most to them? How do they problem solve? And there's a lot of different ways to ask those questions that are really more conversational and because it's about experience. A lot of them are about experience, and people don't mind storytelling. So, it's a good way to ask. But the main heavy hitter questions, I think we have to have written down. Otherwise, we get away from ourselves and we'll walk out without the answer to a critically important question because it's uncomfortable, like the budget question.
Right. Yeah. I like the way you massage that with, can you walk me through your decision-making process? How do you massage that for budget?
So I think the first question you ask, there's a couple of ways you can do it. One is that you can say, have you considered a budget for this? So I'm not asking you to tell me what it is. I just want to know if you've thought about it. Having said that, if I'm asking the question, have you used a company like ours before? And they say, why, yes, I have. I can say, okay, would you mind sharing the experience with me? What did you like? What would you change? What was going on? Somewhere in there's going to be something about what it cost. So I'm going to be able to then ask, would you mind sharing that with me? The way I ask questions, I think words are tremendously important. And if you ask questions in a permission-based sort of way, instead of coming right at with, what is this? People are more likely to answer the question. If they won't answer the budget question, I think we have to say to them, okay, can you help me understand why that's information you don't feel comfortable sharing with me? Because in order for me to really identify whether I can help you or not, I need to know where you are. So we can talk about ceiling, we can talk about floor, we have a lot of options here, but in order for us to really be, I don't want to waste your time. we have to be able to be genuinely, professionally honest in our conversation with them. It just shows them that we mean business, that we're not afraid to ask tough questions, but we're going to ask them in a way that's respectful and understanding, right? Like, I do want to know, why is that a problem for you? Right. That you feel uncomfortable sharing that? Because then when they tell you, then you can answer it, right? Now we're in a better place. We're understanding each other better. We're building that relationship, and I'm not hammering them with, okay, but look at how great my, Ginsu knives are, and all the stuff they don't want to hear.
Does this work equally as well now in remote selling, doing it over Zoom?
It does. I think it takes a little more of the asking them, really what's going on with them at the beginning of that. I think we all have to remember that while we're all in this thing together, we are not all, someone said to me once, we're in a boat, but we're not all in the same boat. So, we need to know where they are. That's the number one most important question. What's their experience? How are they handling things? And then that can help us figure out how to then move into the conversation about what's going on with their business. Or, if it's person to person, what's going on with them, what's working, what isn't. But yeah, and it's interesting that you say like Zoom. I definitely think the face-to-face, being able to eyeball somebody is critically important.
Mm-hmm. Can this apply to marketing, right? The digital process, the digital funnel, can I apply these steps to maybe shorten my sales cycle and further a prospect along following these principles?
Well, that's a really good question. So my short answer is sure, because my opinion is that marketing should really be about information sharing for the most part. Marketing is about exposure, credibility, and awareness. Most people are not going to sell through their marketing, but they are going to improve their reputation through their marketing. So if we think about how can I be of value to other people, and how can I be providing information that starts a conversation, that engages, that asks compelling questions, so that I can be relationship building there. Then when I go and reach out, or they even reach out to me, we've already, jumped that section, so to speak. We're further along on the trust pool.
Right. Yeah, because I like to get people, at the 99-yard line, right? The 1 yard line, the half-yard line. I don't want to carry them 99 yards. I want them already there. I just kind of tip them over.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And doing that with better marketing, content, things like that.
Definitely.
I'm lazy. Definitely. I'm in sales.
I don't think that's lazy.
Because you're right. I hate the battles and, the alternative choice closes. Oh, man, it's just so exhausting.
It is.
Good grief.
And no one likes it. This is what's so weird to me. We don't like being sold to that way, and neither does anybody else. And we don't like behaving that way. So why are we doing it, right? So this sales is about matching a solution to a problem. If you can't, there's no sale to be had.
Right.
So why not go on the discovery mission and treat it that way, and let them know you're treating it that way? Now we're all being genuine. Now we're all on the same level. We're just having a conversation. Let's see how it pans out. If it works, great. If it doesn't, great. Because who knows where that relationship could go.
No. Have you had a deal? Have you had an opportunity? You're like, all right, this probably isn't the best thing right now, only to have it come around later. Because you didn't push it.
Yeah, exactly. This is what happens. When you operate this way, you build so much credibility and trust that Then when they do have a need that matches what you have, they know you've had this conversation. Yeah, I have had people reach back out to me and say, okay, now I would like to revisit this topic. Now I would like to, now I think we might be ready for this. What do you say we have a conversation? And they know I'm going to have the conversation. I'm not going to go instantly into, ooh, sale, woo, woo, okay, great. Here's the contract. Go ahead and sign it. We're still going to have that conversation. There's no such thing as a sure thing.
Right. But it is a much easier sale when they come back to you like that, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it is. And when they stay with you because they know they can trust you, because they know you're going to tell them the truth, they're going to stay with you. They're going to do more business with you. They're going to reach out to you to help them problem solve in other areas. So your value just keeps going up. And they're going to refer you. And the people who trust them are then going to reach out to you without looking at other options, because of all of that trust that's floating around in that conversation.
Can a new salesperson, or that new at a company, can they follow this and hit their number? 'Cause usually you just have unrealistic expectations from management, and it forces your hand. Sometimes maybe you got to push more than you want to, but the boss is breathing down your neck. How do you balance, being new somewhere, or there's a big shift? Right now, you got COVID going on, and everybody's pivoting, and it may, the new normal may take a while to become truly normal and second nature.
Right.
How do you balance those?
Yeah, it's such a good question. So I could go into my whole rant about sales managers and having unrealistic expectations of people, but I won't. There's a chapter in the book about that, and what to do. So my answer would be, salespeople, because of their managers, I believe, have a tendency to engage in activity instead of productivity. So what I would say to a new salesperson is, spend your time where it's going to give you the biggest bang. And so for me, what that means is do a lot of relationship building. Get out there, be networking, connect with people on LinkedIn, get to know them and their business, sit in on webinars, comment on blog posts, do all of the things that you can do to build your community around you. Because the deeper your community is, the sooner you're going to start selling, because you're going to get you're going to be able to ask for introductions, so you're going to get them. People are going to get used to you. They're going to want to have you around because you're community building, you're not selling. So, it's my belief and my experience that it's actually easier to sell like this than it is the other way, where people are slamming doors in your face because you're acting like a salesperson. So, but this is what you have to do all day. Then this is your job. If you're new to it, this is your job. I will add another weird little thing, and that is this. Make sure you put your high school time on your profile on LinkedIn. Because the people you went to high school with, unless you were a real jerk, trust you automatically, the people you grew up with. And so they can be a great source of introductions and referrals out of the gate.
High school friends?
Yeah. Doesn't matter how old you are. Listen, when I was having my 30th high school reunion, I don't live anywhere near where I went to high school, and we had we found almost everybody on Facebook, but then a lot of us connected on LinkedIn. And I cannot tell you the opportunities I've had to help people, to write for magazines, to gain clients, to get introductions. It's amazing. Of course, I wasn't a jerk in high school, but, right, that is the key. But yeah, and it doesn't matter how old you are. There's something about the people you grew up with. You don't have to reestablish that trust.
Look, that guy, he earned that atomic wedgie. Okay. I'm not going to apologize for that. I'm not doing it.
Between you and him.
Very interesting. So, succeed without selling. You've got all sorts of resources in the back, which is very cool.
Thank you.
Guidelines, introductions. I love the whole talking about the 80s and the 90s and the elevator pitch, and golly, I'm so tired of those things. So,
can't we just stop? That's my goal with the book.
Because I tell people, like, you mentioned Glengarry Glen Ross, and you always be closing. And so that came out in 1992. It was based on a Broadway play from the 80s. Mm-hmm. The guy that wrote it, he wrote it, I think, in the 70s, based on his experience watching his dad in real estate from like the 50s and 60s. So that concept is literally like 70 years old.
Right.
It's like, people, we got to move on.
Thank you for that. That's exactly right. And the internet has changed the game. The consumer is educated now. The consumer wasn't educated then. So yeah, did they have to rely on a salesperson to tell them stuff? Yes. Not so much anymore. Now It really is about, people want someone who they know is going to be honest with them and tell them the truth no matter what. And that's a trust thing. And you can't just have it out of the gate.
Yeah. Amen. Selling is a profession. It's not just
a hobby.
Grinding it out. Quick hit.
Yeah. So, right.
Amen. So thank you for writing this. Where can people get it?
So right now the Kindle version is available on Amazon, so they can get it now. The resources that are in the back of the book are also available as downloads on my website. So helbigenterprises.com/resources. They can scroll down and they can download the stuff that's in the back. Because my goal is that they use it, that they save it in a folder and they just use them and do something with it.
Amen.
Yeah.
Don't buy it and set it aside.
Right.
You're not going to get smarter through osmosis.
Exactly.
But people think they will.
I know.
All right. Very nice. So I am linking to that. I recommend it. Succeed without selling. The more you think about selling, the less you will sell.
Exactly.
Amen.
Thank you.
Diane, all the way from Ohio.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Have a great day.
You too.
Preparation and delivery matter. Would you mind telling me your decision-making process? I love that. Have you considered a budget for this? It's a good way to do it, right? Have you used a company like us before? So, ABCs of selling. Always be curious, always be courteous, always be concise. It's not always be closing. And when you do make your prospecting calls, you're closing for an appointment, not the sale. Big difference. All right, you're not shutting people down nowadays, not on the phone, not on a cold call. So check out our book, Succeed Without Selling. You got to figure this stuff out, how to be more strategic, how to be more mature, all right, and make this happen with a lot less effort, a lot less pushback, okay? It's the way I've done it. I kind of gravitated to that naturally, and then I've perfected it over the years. If you want help doing the same thing in your business, hit me up. All right, 30daysalesgrowth.com. Thanks for listening. I'll go sell something.